There was a time when privacy meant pulling your curtain shut and lowering your voice. Then came the internet, and privacy became about passwords and firewalls. Today, in 2026, privacy means something entirely different. It means defending yourself against AI systems that can predict your thoughts before you type them, track your behavior across 100 platforms simultaneously, and build a psychological profile of you that is, in many ways, more accurate than your own self-image. The adversary has changed. The tools of surveillance are no longer clumsy and obvious. They are elegant, invisible, and deeply embedded in the very devices you use to live your life. Your smartphone, your smart TV, your voice assistant, your car, all of them generate data that feeds AI surveillance. Engines running at a scale and sophistication that would have seemed like science fiction just 5 years ago. But here's the thing. Silicon is fighting back. Hardware innovation in 2026 has given privacy-conscious users tools that do not just patch security holes, they redesign the architecture of privacy from the ground up. This is the story of that battle, Silicon versus AI spies, and why this year may represent the ultimate privacy upgrade for those who choose to take it. Before you can defeat an enemy, you must understand it. The modern AI surveillance apparatus is not a single monolithic system. It is a distributed network of data collectors, aggregators, and inference engines that work together to build a comprehensive picture of who you are. Behavioral fingerprinting is, perhaps, the most insidious form of modern surveillance. Unlike traditional tracking that relies on cookies or device IDs, behavioral fingerprinting analyzes how you type, how you scroll, the rhythm of your mouse movements, and even how you hold your phone. AI models trained on billions of data points can identify you with startling accuracy, even in incognito mode, even on a new device, even on a network you have never used before. Predictive profiling takes this further. AI systems operated by advertising networks, data brokers, and in some jurisdictions, governments, do not merely record what you have done. They predict what you will do next, what you will buy, how you will vote, whether you are likely to become ill, and what your financial situation will look like in 6 months. These predictions have value, and that value is extracted from you without your knowledge or consent. Ambient audio and visual intelligence has reached a disturbing level of capability in 2026. Devices with microphones and cameras, which is to say almost every device in your home, are now capable of running local AI inference. The question of whether your device is listening is no longer answered by examining a company's privacy policy. It is answered by the hardware architecture of the device itself. Cross-platform identity linking means that the careful separation you maintain between your work accounts, personal accounts, and anonymous browsing is largely an illusion. AI correlation engines can link these identities through behavioral patterns, timing analysis, linguistic style, and dozens of other signals that you would never think to obscure. This is the enemy, sophisticated, distributed, and increasingly difficult to evade through software alone. For years, the privacy-conscious user's toolkit consisted primarily of software solutions, VPNs, ad blockers, privacy-focused browsers, and encrypted messaging apps. These tools remain valuable, but in 2026, they are necessary but insufficient. The fundamental problem is that software privacy tools run on top of hardware that may itself be compromised. If a device's processor is logging your keystrokes at the firmware level, no browser extension will save you. If your smartphone's baseband processor, the chip, responsible for cellular communications, maintains its own independent connection to a network, your VPN provides no protection for that traffic. Furthermore, AI-powered surveillance has developed the ability to work around many traditional software defenses. Traffic analysis can often reveal the nature of encrypted communications, even without breaking the encryption itself. Behavioral analysis can identify users, even when they are connected through anonymizing networks. The patterns of your software use are themselves a fingerprint. This is not an argument for abandoning software privacy tools. It is an argument for pairing them with hardware-level solutions, which is precisely what 2026 Silicon Revolution makes possible. The most significant development in privacy technology this year is not an app or a service. It is a fundamental shift in how privacy-focused hardware is designed and what it can do. Modern privacy-focused processors now feature hardware-enforced secure enclaves, isolated regions of the chip where data can be processed without being accessible to the main operating system, applications, or any external software. In 2026, this technology has matured to the point where sensitive operations such as biometric authentication, encryption key generation, and financial transactions can be performed entirely within these enclaves. What makes this significant is that no software update, no malware, and no remote exploit can access data inside a properly implemented hardware enclave. The privacy guarantee is enforced by physics, not policy. A growing category of privacy-focused devices in 2026 ships with physical hardware switches that disconnect microphones, cameras, and wireless radios at the hardware level. This is categorically different from a software toggle that turns off a camera, because a software toggle can be overridden by a sufficiently privileged application or operating system. When a physical switch disconnects the camera by breaking the electrical circuit, no AI, no malware, and no remote command can re-enable it. The camera is simply off. Not software off, but hardware off. One of the most important trends of 2026 is the rise of hardware whose design can be independently verified. Open source hardware designs allow security researchers, governments, and individuals to confirm that a device does exactly what it claims to do and nothing more. This is a meaningful response to the problem of supply chain surveillance, where devices are compromised at the manufacturing level before they ever reach consumers. Here's where the story becomes genuinely interesting. In 2026, AI is not only the threat, it is also the most powerful tool for defending against the threat. Privacy-focused hardware now ships with on-device AI engines specifically designed to detect and block surveillance behavior. These systems analyze network traffic patterns in real time, identifying the telltale signatures of data exfiltration even when that traffic is disguised as legitimate activity. They monitor application behavior, flagging access to sensors or personal data that falls outside expected patterns. They can detect and block the behavioral fingerprinting scripts that run invisibly in your browser. The critical distinction is that these AI privacy defenders run entirely on your device, on hardware you control, with no connection to cloud servers. The privacy AI that protects you is not itself a surveillance vector, which is a design requirement that responsible hardware manufacturers are increasingly treating as non-negotiable. With the landscape established, it becomes clear what concrete hardware privacy upgrades define the state of the art in 2026. The privacy-focused smartphone category has matured considerably. The key features to look for are hardware-verified boot processes, physically isolated secure enclaves, hardware kill switches for all sensors, and baseband, processor isolation that prevents the cellular radio from accessing your data or running unauthorized code. Additionally, look for devices that run operating systems with verified open-source code bases and that provide transparent audit logs of all sensor access. In 2026, these features are no longer confined to niche developer devices. They are appearing in mainstream privacy-focused handsets at accessible price points. Your home network is the gateway through which every connected device in your home communicates with the outside world. A new generation of privacy-focused routers in 2026 ships with on-device AI that performs real-time traffic analysis, identifies surveillance-associated traffic patterns, and blocks the devices go beyond traditional firewall functionality. They can identify when a smart TV is sending behavioral data to advertising servers, when a connected appliance is reporting usage patterns to a manufacturer, or when a device on your network is communicating with known data broker infrastructure. The AI models that power this analysis are updated regularly but run entirely locally, meaning your network traffic never passes through a third-party service to be analyzed. The modern privacy-focused laptop in 2026 offers hardware webcam shutters built into the chassis, physical microphone disconnects, BIOS-level security features that prevent unauthorized code execution, and secure memory that wipes itself if the device is powered off or tampered with. More significantly, a new generation of privacy-focused chips includes hardware random number generators and cryptographic acceleration that makes strong encryption fast enough to be used by default for all operations. When encryption is fast, there is no performance argument for skipping it. The Internet of Things remains the soft underbelly of personal privacy. In 2026, the most important hardware upgrade for most users is not their smartphone or laptop. It is bringing privacy by design principles to the devices they have traditionally ignored. Privacy-focused smartwatches now process all health and biometric data on the device itself. Privacy-focused smart home hubs operate entirely on your local network with no cloud requirement. These are not marginal improvements. They close surveillance vectors that have been wide open for years. It would be intellectually dishonest to suggest that hardware upgrades alone solve the privacy problem. They do not. Hardware is a necessary foundation, but the structure built on that foundation still requires attention. Behavioral discipline remains important. The most secure device in the world cannot protect you if you voluntarily share sensitive information through unencrypted channels or with services that monetize your data. Software choices matter even on secure hardware. Privacy-respecting applications, end-to-end encrypted communications, and minimal digital footprint practices amplify the protection that hardware provides. Threat modeling is perhaps the most underrated privacy practice. Understanding what data you specifically need to protect, from whom, and why allows you to make proportionate choices rather than pursuing total privacy as an abstract ideal. A journalist protecting sources has different needs than a professional protecting financial information, who has different needs than a parent protecting family data. The hardware revolution of 2026 does not make privacy automatic. It makes privacy achievable for those who choose to pursue it intentionally. The conversation about hardware privacy upgrades can sound technical and individual, a matter of personal choices about devices and settings, but the stakes are considerably broader than personal convenience. Privacy is an infrastructure issue for democracy. The ability of AI surveillance systems to profile populations, predict political behavior, and micro-target individuals with persuasive content represents a genuine threat to the integrity of democratic processes. Hardware-level privacy protection is not paranoia. It is a reasonable response to a documented and growing capability. Privacy is also an economic justice issue. The data economy extracts value from individuals without compensation, but the extraction is not equal. Marginalized populations face greater surveillance, less control over their data, and more severe consequences when that data is misused. Privacy tools that are accessible only to the technically sophisticated or the wealthy do not solve the problem. They create a two-tier system where some people have rights that others cannot access. Beyond economics, privacy is a question of human autonomy and dignity. The ability to have thoughts, make decisions, and live your life without being observed and analyzed is not a luxury. It is a condition of genuine agency. When your behavior is continuously monitored and fed into AI systems that predict and influence your choices, the boundary between autonomous decision-making and algorithmic manipulation becomes genuinely unclear. The hardware privacy revolution of 2026 is, at its best, a response to all of these concerns meant already was not just a product category. In 2026, for the first time in the history of consumer technology, the tools required to meaningfully resist AI-powered surveillance are available, affordable, and accessible to ordinary users. The silicon is ready. The architecture is designed. The privacy AI that fights on your behalf runs on hardware you own and control. The AI spies have not disappeared. They have, in fact, grown more sophisticated. But so has the defense. The gap between offense and defense, which yawned so widely for most of the past decade, has narrowed considerably. This is not a guarantee. Technology is not destiny, and hardware upgrades are not a substitute for the policy changes, regulatory frameworks, and cultural shifts that genuine privacy protection ultimately requires. But for the individual making decisions today about how to configure their digital life, 2026 represents a genuine opportunity. The ultimate privacy upgrade of 2026 is not a single device or a single feature. It is a philosophy, privacy by design, enforced in silicon, powered by AI that works for you rather than against you, and grounded in a clear-eyed understanding of what is actually at stake. The upgrade is available. The choice is yours. Share.